Hello and welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and this is season 12. Tech on Toast podcast is serving up fresh chats with the sharpest minds in hospitality and tech. If you're looking to level up your ops, streamline your service, or just sprinkle a little tech magic into your business, you've come to the right place. And guess what? Our partners Lightspeed are back this season to look after us. They're the EPOS and payments platform helping over 165,000 businesses. Businesses such as Big Mama, Mildred's, Mallow and Cubit House. They'll help you scale at, you guessed it, the speed of light. See what I did there? With real-time insights, faster transactions and slick integrations with people like OpenTable, Xero, Muse and many more, Lightspeed's unified platform is built to boost your performance and turn your tables quicker than you can say flat white, extra hot. So, if you need fast funding, check out Lightspeed Capital. No hidden fees, no interest charges, just smart support when you need it. If you're curious about all of this, just head over to lightspeed.co.uk/tech on toast and book yourself a free demo. You won't regret it. Now, enough of that. Ready for the next episode? Let's go. Welcome to the next episode of the Tech on Toast podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Catherine Allan, Head of Sales at Benson Bars. Catherine, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's very schmaltzy.
Yeah, and we're recording again at Boss down in Liverpool Street. How's your week been?
Yeah.
It's a short week.
It is a short week. I've been on a hen do, so I'm glad that I'm alive.
Where was your hen do?
Cotswolds.
Oh, very nice. Yes. Gracie, our events manager in Cotswolds. No, living her best life for her birthday. So look, tell us a little bit about you, because people who don't know you or don't know what you've done. Tell us a little bit about your background before we get into it.
So I am actually a children's nurse. Worked in the NHS.
I am silly. I didn't know that.
Many years. I worked in the community with children with rare diseases. Worked in the NHS. Worked in the private mental health sector. And I've always been told since I was probably about 12 that I should work in sales. And I always thought it'd be sales, schmoozy. And when I'd had enough of the NHS, loved the NHS, but had enough of seeing all of these inefficiencies and wanting to improve them, not being able to because there was just red tape everywhere, and asking things like, how can we make this better? Or I don't know, me going away, coming up with a solution, coming in, going, we can do this. Would this work? Yeah, that would work. Great. Can we do it? No. Why? We don't make this.
Computer says no. Yeah.
Who does? Man at the top. Okay, can I speak to him? No. Why not? Don't know where he is. All right. And I think that just keeps happening like over and over and over again. And I got to a point where I was just like, do you know what? Maybe I will try sales. My friend Lorna, lovely Lorna at the Access Group, went to school with me. And she messaged me and told me that there was a job opening and I should apply for it. So I did. And then I got it. So I moved from Bristol to London, took the job, and was just really good at it. And I'm not good at many things, Chris. But for some strange reason, I was really good at sales. And within the first few months, I was being asked by the head of sales and the head of Design by Night to talk to everyone else in the sales team about why my average order value was 50% higher than everyone else's.
Why was it?
I think it's because I cared. I bring empathy with sales. I don't sell to people that don't want what I'm selling. And I don't sell something that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
So I'm not really attached to the outcome. And then I got headhunted on LinkedIn and went and worked for a really cool startup called Limber. So I went from this big global tech company to this little, just startup environment. Yeah. He's doing something really cool. He's got a tech platform that basically allows you to build, manage, and also source.
It's kind of the flexible workforce. You have part-time, full-time. When I met Chris ages ago, we talked about the fact that he has flexible now. So you have that part-time workforce, full-time workforce, and then the flexible workforce, which is what he's built basically through Limber. And he's based in Bristol. I used it at Prime Minister. He sold to me. I caved in the end. I gave in. And I mean you. I don't know. One of you. One of you anyway. But yeah, we used it in Prime Minister for a while when I was up there. But how was that then, going from big to small?
Oh my gosh. Chris was like, Catherine, what we do here is we throw stuff at walls and see what sticks and run with it. And I was so used to all of this process and a proper way of doing things. And obviously they were much earlier on in that journey. So it took a lot of adjusting, but learned how to be really agile and got really, really used to that. Then I was there for 6 months. I sold to over 100 sites within 6 months. I was working with M&B up in their headquarters, loving it. Although, funnily, it's back in Bristol because Linda's based in Bristol, and I just posted about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? And then I went and worked for a company called Night Group. And they had 3 venues at the time, one on Oxford Street above John Lewis, a rooftop bar with windows on the roof. One called Night Tales, a enormous 10,000 square foot music venue in Hackney. And then also Night Tales Loft, a little jazz bar up on the roof. And I worked there as their bookings and sales manager. So I went from the tech side to the operator side. I got FOMO, I think. I was like, I get a bit jealous of the people talking to the people that
When you're selling it,
software.
yeah. I'm going to go do that then instead.
I want to see that. I want to see what they're actually,
And did you see when you went back into ops, into hospitality side, that actually the impact of tech was as you were selling it? Not necessarily you, but was it having the impact you think it should have?
Huge, but people don't use it correctly.
Yeah.
And that is what I brought to the operator side. So I helped them use their tech and get the most out of the tech without spending any more money.
That's not good, Catherine.
You needed to do what you're doing.
No, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of use tech.
Get rid of what you don't need and get what you need, and it will highlight the bits that are ringing alarm bells to you rather than this scattergun approach.
Yeah.
There's a problem here, let's get this. There's a problem here, let's get this. Where's the problem coming from? Get to the real root cause of that. And I basically revamped their entire bookings process from start to finish, from people landing on their website to having the experience they'd booked for and leaving. And I revamped all of it, worked with a web designer, and increased their bookings by 180% in 3 months.
Wow.
And then I was promoted to head of sales and was asked to do the same for the private hire events department. So I think sometimes it's just about cutting out the noise.
Yeah.
And you can get really fancy and talk about all of these fun and wonderful things. But ultimately, if you're not empathy mapping your customer, and I think that's where it's different, right?
Yeah.
When you're in that nursing side, then nothing you're going to do is going to really move the needle enough to make a bigger impact.
That's a very unique approach, that experience in the NHS, and particularly with what you're doing, because it was empathetic and it was you're caring for people. And I actually think hospitality is a lot like that, or should be, that you're actually caring for your team, caring for your customers. So that's a really unique approach, especially to bring that to sales, because without being too cynical, it can be a bit cut and thrust, right? It can be a bit
100%.
brutal, as in here's your KPI, deliver it. I don't really work that way, actually. I don't know how you feel. I know I have to do, with salespeople, you kind of have to be a bit, you have to track them. But at the same time, I think if you step on people too much, they tend to go into that typical salesperson.
Yeah.
Where they just deliver at any cost.
Yeah.
Which becomes a bit depressing.
Yeah.
And you're not like that.
No, I think the most important thing in a salesperson is that they're confident to be unapologetically themselves.
Yeah.
We were speaking about this as we were walking through the streets of London.
Sure.
And we essentially were saying that anyone could come in and do your job and sell this bit of tech. But what no one can do, and therefore is your USP as a salesperson, is be you.
Yeah.
So actually, you're your own USP. You've got to sell in your own way. My way is I'm blinking reliable. If I say I'm going to email you, I'm going to email you. You don't have to reply to me. But if I'm going to email you, I'm going to email you. And I'm memorable, hopefully, a little bit.
And I think if you build relationships, people often come back anyway, right?
Yeah, true.
So if they don't say yes the first time, there's a highly likely, if you're nice and they get on with you and you've had a great, first interaction, there's probably likely you're going to see them again in some capacity, whether it's in this job or the next one.
Exactly. This is sales psychology.
Yeah.
It's, I want to be remembered. Sounds like I've died. I want to be remembered in the prospect's mind as something positive. If I come up on their phone, I don't want them to think, oh God, that's Catherine chasing me about this blimmin' contract again. I want it to be, oh, Catherine, she went on holiday last week. Wonder how it was.
Yeah, Catherine before the product type of thing.
100%. I'm number one.
Yeah. And about being number one, I'm reading here. We had you on a panel at HRC. I don't know when, was it March?
Yeah.
And we were talking, I think we were talking about data, probably were, and CRMs and all the like. And you were very big in that little session we had about being customer first, customer led back there. But we've seen it affect beds and bars as you've been there in that terminology, in the way that you've kind of led from the front, kind of considered your customer before everything else. Have you seen that come to fruition for what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes it's difficult, especially for the people that are customer facing in hospitality, because it's so chaotic internally. The communication is a huge one. because things are doing 180s all of the time. And that's always going to happen at some points. But actually, what I really try to drive forward is, what data do we care about? Okay, and if we care about that, why do we care about it? What decisions is it going to inform? And what's the value of it? Because a lot of people don't get to that second stage and they say we care about this, this, and this. We go off and do all the work to get that data for them. And then we're like, okay, cool. And it kind of stops there. So I think having the foresight is really important. But I basically did what I did at Night Group at Beds and Bars. So I went in, I looked at Collins, and I worked with all of the sales and marketing managers for each of the venues and revamped the Collins settings. I did a pilot in London Bridge, the flagship site, and the results that I got there were really impressive. I mean, I'm not proud of much in my life, Grace, I'm not going to lie, but these results are, I wasn't expecting them to be so great. I mean, as an example, the auto-confirm bookings on the website went up by 114%.
See, this is where tech can give you metrics.
Absolutely.
That otherwise you would never get thanked for, right? It's probably the reason why a lot of sales and marketing people over the years have churned. It's a horrible word, but have been made redundant or moved on or whatever has happened. Because really measuring your performance, I think, apart from pounds, and it's always very difficult, isn't it? You know, it's just to track back a booking that you made, but now you have that tech, or be able to measure through tech. It's super interesting.
Absolutely. 10 people and above bookings, auto-confirm, increased by 151%. 10 people plus bookings increased by 16,500%.
Wow.
Website
They're doing any before you're right.
I know. Well, website lands to confirmed increased by 94%. And my team's time, because before I did this project, I thought, what's actually thinking about ROI from this? Really, really reactive. I want my team to be more proactive. So what can I measure to kind of quantify that? My team's time spent on Collins dealing with bookings at London Bridge, and that reduced by 87%.
Wow.
So we're getting way more bookings and we're doing way less work. So then I was asked to roll it out across Europe. So that's what I did. And it's similar to what I did at Night Group with the website and the booking system. And I just start really simple and understand the needs of the person that I'm trying to serve. And then I just ensure that I make them feel safe throughout the whole journey. I'm telling them the information that they absolutely need to know. In the booking policy, I'm putting things like antisocial behaviour won't be tolerated, because if they read that and they're not going to adhere to that rule, I don't want their custom anyway.
Yeah.
Don't shove all this information in your booking policy that no one's going to read. And then the things that I think you should probably know this, because it could cause a general manager some problems. If you turn up to the venue and you do this, you say, I wasn't told that, then actually we need to be able to prove that you were. Things like don't bring chewing gum into the venue, that's going in the confirmation email. And it's just about what you're telling who, when. Because if you're giving people too much information, they're not going to read it all. 30%, I think, people take in.
Yeah, I think it's, as a former area multiple site manager, it's one of the biggest challenges, right, for people to manage individuals delivering the same message but doing it consistently. It's very difficult. I think you have to have it's either exhausting for you, the person that's delivering it, or it's really exhausting for the people getting it because they've got this tired individual doing it over and over again, and maybe their levels are dropping a little bit. So that the ability to do that, I mean, that those numbers you just read out there, plus the ability to live that consistently is easy for me to say, is quite an achievement for you, right? To be able to see those results on paper. Plus, I imagine those individuals you dealt with will appreciate it as well, because they all benefit as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing with Collins. Like, I'll always believe in Collins and I'll always back Collins. I just feel like it does what you would do anyway. And I think a lot of people think that they're scared of auto-confirm, quite rightly. You have got to be careful with it. You need to be able to deliver on expectations your customers have. But there are so many nuances that you can do. And because I've come from that background and I sold Collins, being the thorough, meticulous person I am, I obviously memorise every feature. And I understand the settings so well that tell me what you need and I can tell you if Collins can do it or not. And if we're doing something with a booking when it comes into the system that Collins could do without us, why aren't we letting Collins do it?
Yeah.
Let me build the trust. It's all about getting that trust and engagement first.
I was going to say, is that, do you think because tech companies obviously hire salespeople and customer success people, do you think they should be coming from the industry, or as much as they possibly can bring people with that experience, or is it the wrong way around? Do you almost think that actually tech people should be quite technical and actually explaining to, because there's definitely a gap, isn't there, between the hospitality operator and the tech salesperson, where there's a language barrier or whatever it might be, whereas people like you are having to almost care for the product once it's inside.
Honestly, I care so much.
Yeah.
I really care about making people's lives easier. That's really my driving force. It's a really interesting question, though. I don't think you get many people going from tech to sales. Dollar ain't as good as it. But I do also think that going from hospitality into tech, I think that could be quite a frustrating experience.
I've done it. It's very difficult.
Yeah. And were you going in being like, don't understand?
I was an ops director and I went into DeliverAct as a product marketer, which is totally, that's what I was doing. And it was hugely frustrating for both parties, probably, because I'm want to do my thing, right? Yeah. I want to have an impact, and having an impact among 600 people across Slack, not easy.
I think tech to hospitality is probably...
It's tough. It's just interesting because you've done both. And I think it gives you, I think the difference between you and probably 95% of the others is the way you care. I think if you go back to your original NHS piece, I think that ability to give a shit about people and the product all the way around 360 is very admirable and very rare.
I just feel bad if I tell someone something and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but
I'd be annoyed if someone did that to me.
I'm not.
I can't imagine not caring about that though.
Yeah, but I'm trying to become less cynical as I get older, I suppose. But I do. Unfortunately, there are people in the market that will behave like that, and I think it's one of the reasons why hospitality operators probably don't engage as much as they should with tech suppliers, because I think they're nervous sometimes of being oversold, missold, whatever it might be.
Tech suppliers have a responsibility though. Yeah. Like, do not be spouting about this tech jargon to a hospitality operator that just wants a booking system. Like, they don't care about most of the stuff you're going to say. Find out what they care about. Learn more about it. Understand it. Make sure that you've understood it. Clarify that. And then just pull up on the bits that are relevant to them. They don't have time.
What's one of the most common misconceptions you hear about sales? And how do you help move that mindset?
Oh, they're just trying to sell. That probably won't even help me. They're just a sleazy, annoying salesperson. If you are sure that that is happening, run. Because that person, you're right, that person only cares about their targets and only cares about their quota. But I think that those people have tarnished the view of other salespeople like me who actually do really care. And I think, as we've said, that does set me apart. But I think that because I've been through quite a lot, my fair share anyway, in my life, I just want every single person that interacts with me to feel a bit lighter. And I don't really mind how that happens. If it's that, they're passing me in a corridor as I'm coming out the loo, then it will just be, you're right. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't need to be anything fancy. I think selling to someone isn't my priority. Connecting with people is, and with that connection happens to come sharings of problems, and with sharings of problems happens to come opportunity, and with opportunities happens to come me wanting to help and me wanting to solve that. And I don't really care if they buy it or not. Sorry, I don't, because I don't want anyone that I'm working with to have a solution that doesn't help them. That's not good for testimonials or case studies for the business anyway.
No, I think it's very hard, I think, to, having been sold to and selling to people, the constant obsession with delivering is actually will make you unhealthy. Like genuinely for me, it'll break me down because it's something I worry about constantly. And I think you're probably the same, right? Because you care, and that's something you can't really get rid of. But no, it's interesting. And when you do sell something in, though, one of the biggest problems we've noticed, and one of the things that we're having to address with Tech on Toast, which actually makes our lives more difficult, is adoption. And how can hospitality operators listening to you now, what's some of the best advice you can give them around adopting new technology or taking it into their business and actually rolling out?
Cut out the noise, make it super, super simple. Don't get distracted. It's really, really easy to go out to tender with a problem and look for a solution and be absolutely inundated with new shiny things that are solving problems that you didn't even know you had. And then you're suddenly really scared of those problems happening because the salespeople are like, watch this pothole, like they're going to fall down. And it's like, oh God, well, I don't want to do that. And then you end up getting roughly what you needed wrapped up in all these shiny things. And actually, I think it's really important before you go to tender. I think this is the biggest bit of advice that I would give. Before you go out to market to look for a solution, get really, really clear on what you actually need. You might have, I do this when I'm looking for a new house.
House tech.
I say that as if I've done it loads of times, actually. I rant. But I have like my must-haves, and then I have my nice-to-haves. And I think that's really important to document and to get really clear on with whoever's going through that process. Make sure they're engaged and kind of, with you on that journey. And I mean, I literally score it. I literally have a spreadsheet and I have operators that I'm interested in.
And I think that's something that should be available to all operators, right? Because some aren't as technical or as,
Exactly.
they're not like you. And I think they need help. We try and do it for them where we RFP, I suppose they're called, but give an opportunity to kind of do exactly that. What do I love? What don't I love? Or what is absolutely necessary to this deal?
Exactly.
If we don't get this, we're not doing the deal.
Breakers.
Yeah.
And then those new things that come up throughout the sales process, they can actually be beneficial, don't get me wrong. So write them down, put them to the side and revisit them later down the line.
Yeah.
I think a classic example of this actually is a sales obstacle, which is hospitality operators. We've got rising labour costs. We've got, our eye on the bottom line like it's going out of fashion. And we're really casting the net far and wide and trying to reach as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. We sign up to all these third-party marketing platforms, right? And we're getting all of these leads. And for the board, it looks really good because it's like we're getting hundreds of leads. We need to grow the sales team. And they're all just reactive. They're just responding to inquiries really quickly. And the board are going, well, why is our conversion rate so low? And it's because you signed up with, 5 to 10 third-party platforms and none of your listings are up to date.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to remember that is the quickest way to the bottom, because everything you're putting out there, that chaos cannot go external. That chaos has got to stay internal unless it's just pushed through the energy and the vibrancy of the space that you're creating. I'm a bit of a nerd. I did some research. I often read a few different hospitality reports just to make sure I'm aware of the landscape of what's going on. Meetings Industry Association and the Restaurant and Bars Report and UK Hospitality do some good ones as well. And the forecast, right, of the hospitality sector, venue hire searches in England have nearly doubled since 2004, peaking just before COVID and obviously at the all-time low by November. 61% of the 140 operators that were asked predict higher revenue this year, right? However, only 41% of that forecasted revenue is actually guaranteed, which is a 10% year-on-year drop. So what that basically indicates is how heavily they rely on new inquiries with short lead times. And the most important thing that we all need to do is make sure that we have a strong pipeline. And people are so obsessed with having a pipeline that if your pipeline is full of people with the wrong information,
yes.
I could have 10 people in my pipeline, but they all have a budget of £3,000 and I've just upped my venue hire fee from £3,000 to £5,000, but because it's not updated on my listing platforms, I'm literally paying someone to just let them know the budget's increased, So what can we do to make sure that we're not just growing a sales team that are just doing all of this reactive stuff all of the time? They should be, casting the net far and wide as a marketing KPI. And what we need to be focusing on is the salespeople not doing much qualification and actually doing the selling and doing the connecting. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of misspent time or wasted time, I suppose, around that area of the business, because for a long time people have they report up on it, if that makes sense. They go up to the board with these numbers and actually require someone like you to intervene, or tech to intervene in the middle of all that to make sure you're being efficient. Because my worry, I used to work at Living Benches a long time ago, living room used to have mostly female, don't know why, mostly female people who were in charge of sales. Their little desk downstairs at the front of every living room, and they would drive bookings, traffic, whatever was going on. But actually it became a point where they were kind of like a rule of their own. No one really knew we knew they were generating per se according to a spreadsheet, but I don't think anyone was really driving efficiency out of those roles, and those roles ended up disappearing and coming back and disappearing.
Exactly.
And I think that's just a common cycle. Yeah.
And we need to remove the reactive stuff that tech can do.
Now, was this workshop driven? Was it you? Was it beds and bars related, or was it?
It was me.
Was it a side gig?
No, I don't know if you have noticed this, Chris, but I do just speak my mind, which gets me into trouble sometimes.
That's why you're on the pod.
But because I do that, I find normally in jobs that people come to me and tell me things that they think.
Yeah.
And I get to a point where I was like, you're all saying the same thing. Like, let's do something about it. Let's get into a room.
Well, this reminds me of a tech product, right? So at Deliverect, you get a lot of feedback from customers. But it used to be a tipping point when that would then fall into a feature release, right?
Exactly.
So enough people say something's wrong,
Exactly.
and then we react. And you're the same, right? So you're having all these people telling you, we're not happy. Well, you can explain what they weren't happy with, but then you go and react on it. So tell us what you did.
I essentially got far too excited and stayed up far too late planning a data detangle workshop. And I basically was aiming to I got my aims very clear before I started, because you put a lot of people in a room. We all know what can happen.
Chaos.
And I basically said, we're all saying the same thing, but I don't want to just go off that. I want to actually really delve into it. Actually, my colleagues hated me because I gave them all templated slides to fill out, and I sent them all in isolation to them so they couldn't see each other's.
I like your style.
And they were like, I went to look at so-and-so slides. And I was like, yeah, well, you've got to come up, you said all this stuff to me, so let's really delve into it. It clearly matters to you. And
was the feedback similar just across the different sites?
Oh,
yeah.
It was identical pretty much. But what I was basically aiming to do is make sure that the C-suite were receiving helpful, accurate and relevant information to help them in decision making. And I looked at exactly what I was saying earlier. What data do we care about? What value does it have? What changes do we make based off this data? And the third aim was to reduce time on reporting, because regurgitating information is like, I want to spend my time increasing those numbers. I don't want to spend my time telling you those numbers. So that was the aim. And yeah, we all basically just looked at it and we all realized that we were using the same data for different user requirements. So we didn't understand the context of each other's data. And I basically just did a whole project and changed the whole way that we reported internally.
And did you reduce that? Because I'm quite obsessed with the meeting thing. Today I had an email saying, can we have a meeting about process, Chris, today about this particular product we done? I was like, and I didn't snap, because I don't really, but I kind of, as close as Chris gets to snapping, I was like, no more. I said, we know what the process is. You just need to remind yourself and go back and do it. And because I think that we generally in operations and hospitality love a meeting.
Oh,
we love a meeting. We love them, but everybody hates them.
I don't. Let's have a meeting to discuss what we're going to talk about at the next meeting. And it's like, well, just send me an agenda for the meeting and then I'll prep and then we'll actually get value out of the meeting.
I think that's the key. What you just said there, agenda, right? This sounds so stupid, right? It sounds so stupid. But how many meetings do you go to that don't have an agenda?
I decline it.
And I'm a nightmare. I'm one of the worst for it. And when I was at Prime Minister, we had, they used to give this massive A3 sheets.
I thought you were going to say I had massive pie.
No, God, I wish. But we had a lot of pie, actually. But my first meeting, he gave me this fig sheet. It was almost like a table map. And it had all the columns and everything for it, and it was all pre-filled with the main data you needed. You would have been in hell. I came from Carluccio's where we had hundreds of sites, but it wasn't like that. And it was so organised, and it really helps people like me because I'm quite visual. I don't really like writing everything down. So yeah, but I'm saying that what you're doing is helping these people achieve what they need to achieve it quicker, right? Because it's a huge issue in the industry.
Exactly. I completely agree. That sounds like an absolute dream. I'd be like that. Well, what came out the Data Detangle Day was
Data Detangle Day.
Honestly, I was like, I told a data analyst, I was like, by the way, your data's not tangled. We're tangling it.
Yeah.
Your data's
good.
Great.
Yeah.
It's us that are the problem.
Yeah. Always.
And she got invited to it. She was like, what do you mean data detangled? Bless her. But no, I basically just got the C-suite to be like, to answer the question that we asked them at the beginning, and it got them to think, and then we came up with, okay, this is the data we're going to report on, this is how often, we know what value it has, we know what decisions we're making off the back of it, and this is what can be automated, this is what can't be, and we're going to have one person from sales and marketing who everyone sends the manual bits to, who's going to circulate that report, and it is, a racy chart, right? Who's responsible, who's accountable, so on and so forth. But I can't explain the power of that, because time, as you say, is the most...
waste money, but you can't waste time. If you could build your own venue, any kind of hospitality, I don't care, golf club, nightclub, whatever you want to do, and powered by like the perfect tech stack or tech center, what did it look like? And after, who's working the floor? Most importantly, what are we drinking?
Oh, I would definitely focus on every single interaction. I don't care if someone is walking past or on my website, whether they're paying or buying something from me or not, don't care. What I really care about is the way they feel after that interaction, whether they're gaining something or they're shedding something a bit heavy that day. As long as they left feeling lighter, that is what I care about. And I think there are so many ways to do that. Was it the bouncer that smiled at them on the way in? Or was it the waiter that picked up their purse that they dropped? Or was it the receptionist that took them out and walked them to their taxi at 11 p.m. at night because they were on their own? You know, it's those little things that really, really matter. And in terms of the tech stuff, tech stuff?
Yeah, it's my life.
Drink a bit. I think as long as the tech was the scaffolding that sat behind the scenes that allowed me to do that, that's all I would want. I think it needs to enable the authentic interaction and more. It opens the door for more opportunities for that. And the best tech disappears, I always think.
Love that. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
Quad tech is the best tech, right?
And as long as they left feeling lighter, although to be fair, I probably wouldn't feel lighter if I drank 5 wines, actually. Spanish wines.
Wine.
Yeah, and running the floor. Jessie J, she's just the best person ever. Jessie J concert, if you ever have a chance to see her, please do. She is a therapist, a comedian, and a singer. I would want anyone there who is just 100% unapologetically themselves and cares for others. That would be the job spec.
That's lovely. And on that note, about caring for themselves, you're going through a moment at the moment. Can we talk about this? We are. So you're onto new ventures, and you've got a plan which you showed me. Tell us a little bit what you can.
It's essentially, I've always wanted to start my own business. I've tried lots of different things, and I've never ever. I think you need 2 things to start a business. First of all, someone that will take accountability and run it well, and secondly, a blinking good idea. And I've never really got not that I'm like I can run it really well, but I think I've got like the skills to do it, or at least to try.
Yeah.
But I've never had an idea that's good enough. And I'll be honest about that. One of them was a rain Mac. Bike. I wanted to do that. It was called Bike Mac.
Oh,
got prototypes from China.
Like Big Mac, but
exactly. They're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, don't even get me into trademarking. I'm not good at that. Anyway.
And I essentially, through my experience of working with hospitality operators, is what I was talking about earlier about having all of these third parties and needing to jump on it. I mean, the amount of third parties that have come out and doing what they're doing really, really well and really struggling to get the engagement from the operators because they just don't have time.
Yeah.
You know, updating all these listing platforms. So I'm starting a company. And I'm actually going to launch a pilot soon. So we're asking for operators that want to save reactive time and be more proactive. And we basically just want to see, does this reduce your labour costs and increase your ROI on all of those third-party listing platforms that you're listing in private hire spaces with?
Look, I think you're articulate, you're smart. You told me, I was like, good for you, because I think it's definitely where you should be. And we'll support you all the way, right?
Yeah, I've got to go back to nursing to fund my rent, though.
Yeah, but good for you. I mean, you're going to learn more. I mean, I bet you learn more in nursing than you ever did.
Whether I'm persuading a kid to take some Calpol for their tummy ache or persuading someone to sign up to something that I think will benefit them, it's really, isn't it? I do have another little
I'd rather take Calpol than buy EPOS, to be fair.
I do have a present for you.
Oh, do you?
So the first one is anyone that's listening to this can basically join the pilot for free.
Nice.
And we'll really look after
whatever they can do that.
Yeah, I've got you a special link.
Thanks,
and the next one is the first sketches of our potential logo.
Oh.
And I'm going to give it to you, and hopefully when we're a massive company, you'll be able to sell it for thousands.
Oh, I love that. You're very cool. Look, fantastic. I love meeting you. Sorry for making you walk across London.
It's all right. It's my exercise for the year.
So we did a great 2K stint. From where were we?
Christmas line.
Yeah. You might want to apply for Catherine, but just don't do like map or navigation with it. Sorry, not so good. But no, really love to meet. And I should say, actually, how do people get hold of you? I forgot. So if people want to talk to you and just kind of chat, is that the best place to
Yeah, always open to opportunities and happy to chat to anyone at any time.
available for some sales stuff?
I am, absolutely.
So
Yeah, love training, love sales training, and also I'm open to new job. This thing has got to be a side thing because the pilot is.
You should talk to our Timothy. I'm sure he can help you. I've got the guy who runs our tech agency, so he works with go-to-market people. So I'm sure he can help you. But look, that's it. That was Tech on Toast podcast. That was Catherine Allan. Thank you very much for coming in. Have a lovely day and say bye-bye.
Thank you so much.